First and foremost, the topic today that is given to me is Save the Youth. I think in the world that I'm living in, it's not saving the youth, it is saving the parents from the youth. Because today you see there are so many challenges ahead of us, and the suffering is happening more by the parents than by the children because the children are not listening to their parents. They suddenly seem to have found independence and they feel they are the boss of the house and they feel they can dictate terms to the parents. And parents, because of their utter love and affection, because they want to give their best to the child. So invariably, they have been pampering the kids with too much of love and affection, where there is no border of, um, there's no border of discipline, and somewhere they go overboard. So first, let us, when we talk about this complex combination of saving the youth and mental health, because mental health is again a big ocean. And today, we all know that the whole world is suffering for various reasons, and mental health has become a challenge the world over. One, because of the lack of psychologists, psychiatry, the accessibility, that is a superficial level. But if you see, every person with a brain has the ability to suffer because the way they perceive the world is not what they want. And today, I also have come to another conclusion that people suffer not because they don't get what they want, but they're focusing more on what they don't want rather than what they want. So this again comes when I go in depth into analysis of a person to understand why exactly they have, gone into mental illness, or they've gone overboard, or they're suffering and they're not happy. So when you actually probe into the depth of any case, we understand just these 2 points. One, we have useful thoughts, and two, we have useless thoughts. So whenever there are useless thoughts, it is normal that people focus on what they don't want. And when what they don't want is focused on, they sit, think, ruminate over it, and then they don't act. So failure is inevitable. But a person who focuses on useful stuff, focuses on what they want, and go ahead and get what they want, these people are successful and happy. Because finally, when you actually see a human being has so many wants which can never be satisfied. But getting clarity about what you actually want and how to get it is the crux of life. So mental health has been a challenge because people have not understood themselves better, and then they crave so many things from the world outside, which may not be possible. So before we go into looking at the mental health perspective, let us just study the youth today. When you see the youth today, they are not like the youth that we had. We had a very, limited life. We were brought up within boundaries. We knew what we can do, what we cannot do. And life was very limited without too many distractions. But today, because of the internet explosion, because of the whole technology having come in, everybody has access. Thanks to COVID, everybody has access to technology. Even the remotest villages have access to technology. So having access to technology can be a boon and a bane. We all know that. So as a boon, it could be a supplement to our education, supplement to the skill development, supplement to learning different skills. But it is a bane because people don't know how to use it and how to actually utilize technology to grow. Now, when you see the phase of youth is a period in our life where we are not adult, not a kid, and there are transitional bodily transitions that happen, hormonal changes that happen. So definitely we all know, that's a risk-taking age, an age where people want excitement, people want, a thrill in doing certain things. Now, when we say save the youth, we need to understand, why does a youth need to be saved? One, these are all maybe because of my personal experiences. But if you see, the first and foremost, Lot of potential is there in the youth today, lot of potential, but they themselves don't know what their potential is, and they don't know how to express it. And the society outside don't know how to identify the potential in each person. So when there is unrecognized talent, there is a lot of frustration too. So first, identifying the talent, identifying the potential is very important. Second, we also see the freedom to explore. When we are kids, we are allowed all the kinds of freedom we want. But as we grow up, there are certain, see, no matter how Western you are, there is a little boundary that is there to how much of freedom you can have. And getting a lot of freedom and then wanting to go beyond that limit is again, a temptation. And so people always want to go beyond those boundaries, wanting to explore things which are good and which are bad. And that becomes a challenge today. Another problem with the youth we have today is development of our identity. With parenting today, there are different kinds of parenting, of course, but allowing the child to grow, allowing that youth to explore his thoughts, being by him, but being him or her, being by them and allowing them to explore their talents, explore whatever they can do, explore the potential is also something that's lacking, because maybe sometimes even parents don't have that kind of time, energy, or the mentality, attitude to stand and support these youth. So today that's a big challenge, trying to understand children, giving them their freedom, curtailing their independence, and allowing them to develop. I think today what is actually needed for the youth, when we say save the youth, we actually need to allow them to think. Because when they think, there's not going to be any big problem. When youth understand the situation, when they think about the consequences, what does he want? How does he get it? How does it affect another person? When we think beyond ourselves and start connecting to people around and seeing the impact we leave on others, then I'm sure that there will not be as many challenges as if people are more self centered, a little more narcissistic, only thinking about themselves and not bothered about anyone else. Respect is something that the youth today want and expect from the others. But somewhere again, they have forgotten that they have to earn respect. So when you want to earn respect, they have not been taught to earn respect because they have been given everything in life and they think that being their parents' children, that they have to get respect. So earning respect, working hard, and first building an image for themselves is also very, very important. Again, independence building. Today, children are independent. Parents have given them the independence, but the youth don't feel that they are independent and they feel more restricted. Now, we can go on, the list is endless, but understanding the youth from their perspective is one story. Understanding the youth from the perspective of the parents is another story. Because parents, again, nurture the children, giving them all that they want, not allowing any child to, feel deprived. They've never said no or they've given them whatever they want. But children don't know the value of things. And to understand this value, parents also need to develop the ability to have, more of an interaction, discuss. Sorry. So parenting is a big challenge today because parents are in the previous generation and then they stop. I mean, they cannot understand the present generation. And there is a disconnect between each generation, the lifestyle they led, and what exactly the youth expect today. Some parents, again, it's not that I'm generalizing and saying all parents are having challenges. Most parents don't have challenges, but the few that do have challenges is maybe because they are too permissive or they're too autocratic. So both those extremes can also be an issue. Trying to be more democratic, trying to be more empowering, trying to facilitate and nurture the youth is also very, very important. When we come to mental health, I've been in practice for more than 30 years, but especially the last 10 years has been very unique, and it has been a beautiful experience because it was more of a psychological and a spiritual journey, because I happened to come across fingerprints as a tool for understanding one's brain design. So the past 10 years that I've been working on understanding people, understanding their psychology, understanding why they are the way they are. And today I've come out with my own theory called the brain design. And all this can be understood through fingerprints. It is our genetic potential, our genetic inheritance, biological inheritance from our parents. So through fingerprints, I can understand what kind of traits have come from the mother and from the father, and how each individual is unique, and how we need to understand them from their individual perspective rather than a generic perspective. Because when we look at a person from outside, we are looking at the overall behavior. But when you look at a person from inside, they are so unique. Their configuration is so different that there can be no one standard rule that everybody must follow. So this is again a very tough, tricky question, because it's not everyone's ball game to understand their brain design and then how to deal with them, and not everybody is trained. But when you understand each individual, you understand each one has your own perspective. How you look at life is not the way I look at life. So when so many millions of people are looking at life from different perspectives, how do we come to one commonality? How do we come to one perspective to how things should be, and what is the truth? Because truth can never be defined when different people look at it differently. So fingerprint patterns have, with a lot of, lot of research, when I look at the fingerprint patterns, I have classified them into 8 categories. Now, those 8 categories talk about 8 mentalities, 8 personality types. One being the introverted, very, very, very much within themselves, very secretive. The second being imaginative and very passionate about whatever they feel. The third is a very empathetic person, a very democratic person, who's a holistic person, personality type. The fourth being the critical judgmental type. The fifth being instinctive and intuitive. The seventh being connecting and more of a perfectionist. Then the next one is more a comprehensive analytical type. And the last one, the focused, achievement oriented personality type. So when you look at these 8 kind of people or mindsets or personality types, how you deal with each one is different. And we cannot have one generic rule when we know that each of them have a unique configuration. So it is very important when we talk about mental health, each of those categories have a different perspective. So when we give a generic rule to everybody, it is very difficult to connect to them. So today, when I'm looking at the inside of a person and I'm looking at the outside world, the psychology which I was educated in, that world is different, because we're looking at people from outside, and all of us have to conform to the society outside, conform to the expectations, but unaware of myself, unaware of why I am feeling frustrated or unhappy, and unable to express myself explicitly. So this is the clash that happens today. And I believe that mental health today is very, very important, because we're only talking about one core concept: happiness. Who is happy? Why is it that everyone cannot be happy? And how are we going to make sure that we attain that happiness in this one life? Now, it's only because we are not happy that we search for spiritual teachings, we search for spiritual realizations about our life, and we move towards a spiritual path because we're looking for a higher meaning to life. And then we understand, that's again my understanding, that each one of us are designed so differently, and our karmic journey takes us on a different path, each path unique from the other, but all roads lead to Rome. So finally, whoever is that one God, one force, one light, all of us have to merge into that. But the journey to reach there is several. And looking at fingerprints, understanding the psychology of a person, understanding why they're not happy, and then understanding how we all search at our own pace in our own lives, how we move towards that realization. Some achieve it, some don't. But that path to realization releases us. And again, that's another beautiful journey, which fingerprints has given me, understanding that our internal world has to be in sync with the external world and how we search for that balance between both. And unless we disconnect from the external world and connect to the internal world, do we have these realizations. Again, this is an in-depth story that I don't want to talk about spiritualism when all of y'all are the experts in that. But understand that to know the psychology of an individual, I have approached the same psychology with a different perspective, with a lot of experience, research based on the findings of my clients. And I understand that all of us are designed differently, and we all have to search meaning through this design, because what works for me doesn't work for the next person. But we all have to go onto that path. So today, when we look at youth, they are looking forward in life. So all the time they're looking out for with hope. They are so idealistic. They want to reach out. They want to do whatever they want to do. And they're so filled with hope and positivity. But parents who have already experienced life have a sense of a limit, a boundary, a little more of a pessimistic view to life. And they try to limit the children because they said, don't focus in those areas, focus on these, because this is what takes you to a particular destination. So when we try to tailor make their life and cut the edges and streamline them towards a particular direction, definitely there is a resistance. So youth today, one have to be given that kind of uh, challenges so that they realize who they are. They have to be listened to, and parents need to connect with them equally. And parents should also have a little more open-mindedness, because somewhere along the line, I think that the frustrations of one's own life could also interfere in the way we nurture our children. So the mental health of parent could affect the youth, or the youth's mental health could affect the parent, vice versa. So again, this is a very strong permutation and combinations that we have, where there is no one basic rule that we can talk about, but definitely the youth have a lot of potential. And to save them, we need to channelize, nurture, and move them up the path of realization. Even spiritual awakening should be done at that age, because normally at that age, they're more materialistic and they're not looking at the spiritual path, though they are very spiritual in nature at that point in time. See, like I see youth who will want to help, who'd want to give, who'd want to donate. But the parents would say, no, that's not your forte. No, you don't do this. You focus on your studies, focus on this. So they tend to take the children onto a different pathway. And somewhere that the spiritual aspect or the spiritual realization in them is sort of diverted. And I think if parents could work hand in hand with the children today, we could save the youth when they start questioning more on the inner awakening rather than the external achievements. Because today we have the materialistic world out there with so many temptations that sky is the limit for the type of creations that could be made and that they want. But a very simple inner answer, which they could just get by looking inwards. I'm very happy that I was given this opportunity. I don't want to go on too long. So I think it's better if we could have an interactive session, because then you can draw out whatever my experience is. So I would invite questions from the participants. That would be more interactive.